I had known for 4 years that Charles had fallen out of love with me. Initially, it was just a necessary act, but eventually, he became unwilling to pull himself out of it. At home, he was the perfect husband, cooking and caring for me. Outside, he was a charming and successful financial tycoon. It wasn't until he openly kept a bar hostess as his mistress and offended the largest shareholder for her that I had to admit Charles had fallen for her. Chapter 1. I stood at the entrance of the private room. Down the hallway, Charles was wearing the suit I had chosen for him that morning. He had his arms around a frail woman, his large hands rubbing her slender waist, then he bent down to kiss her forehead, her nose, and finally, her lips. Such an intimate scene was not uncommon in this bar. If I hadn't come out to use the restroom, I might never have seen the passionate expression on the face of my usually distant and reserved husband. Tonight was a welcome-back party for my best friend, Zoe. When I told Charles about it, he forbade me from attending. The reason was obvious: his new mistress worked here. I sat at the edge of the sofa, listening to everyone discussing the financial market back home. Nina, you're the luckiest among us. Your husband, Charles, is at the peak of his career. No one dares to challenge him. Someone else added. And I hear he's very devoted to you, always taking you to events and never getting involved with other women. They were mocking me. Jealous? Ask him if he wants to take you as a second wife. Others laughed and tried to smooth things over. I stayed silent, knowing when to stop. Charles's success was undeniable, but everyone knew he was a philanderer. A sharp voice echoed from the hallway. Someone shouted, "Charles, stop it!" Everyone went out to watch the commotion. I saw Charles, like a madman, beating a man to the ground. People pulled him away. "Mr. Gu, it's our fault." The bar apologized. Charles's face was cold. Everyone around who knew us glanced at me with ambiguous expressions. Because Charles was holding that young girl. "Linda is my woman. If you make her serve drinks again, I'll tear this place apart." When the party ended, Zoe offered me a ride home. "You hurt your hand for Charles back then and gave up playing the violin. You swore you'd be happy marrying him. He's like this, and you're not doing anything?" I was silent for a moment. Before getting out of the car, I told her. "He can't help but play along outside. Those women never last." But back then, I was determined to marry him. From knowing about his affairs to accepting them in silence to becoming numb. As long as he came back to me in the end, I accepted it. I chose this path. I didn't want to admit defeat. The villa was dark, he probably hadn't come home. The moment I opened the door, the moonlight through the floor-to-ceiling windows illuminated the entwined figures in the living room. The man's heavy breathing and the woman's suppressed moans weighed on my heart, turning my 4 years of patience and suffering into a sharp blade. My hands trembled. The pain in my chest made me bend over. Charles had brought her home. For the first time. Chapter 2. Perhaps their kissing was too intense, neither noticed me. I stood at the door like a ghost. "Ah!" The woman's loud scream pierced through the villa. Only then did Charles see me. With a loud snap, I turned on the light and changed my shoes. Passing by the sofa, I saw the woman's face clearly. She wasn't particularly beautiful, but she was pure-looking. Terrified, with red eyes, she burrowed into Charles's arms. He protected her, as if afraid I'd drag her out the next second. But I did nothing, just examined her closely. Her face was completely different from mine, probably only 20, full of youthful vitality, her figure full and in a white dress. Like a pure, innocent rabbit. As I ascended the stairs, Charles stood up. "She's staying here tonight." Previously, when he stayed out, it was a silent declaration, with a pretense of peace. But now, it was a blatant challenge. I said nothing, just like in the bar, distancing myself from the situation. Only by doing so could I maintain my composure. Sitting on the master bedroom bed, I covered my face. Tears slipped through my fingers. A wedding photo hung by the bedside. I had posted it on social media back then, and many had congratulated me. In the walk-in closet, his suits and my dresses hung together, as if we had just gotten married. I didn't even know what went wrong between us. I had asked him, but Charles repeatedly told me I was overthinking. Emotional neglect, silent treatment. Charles was a master at it. Downstairs, the young woman was making soup in the kitchen. Seeing me, she trembled slightly. I ignored her, taking a dessert from the fridge. "Mrs. Gu, eating sweets at night is bad for your skin." Her voice was sickeningly sweet, making me want to vomit. "Really? I don't rely on looks to get by, so I don't care." Hearing this, a hint of malice flashed in her eyes, followed by red eyes, as if about to cry. I was just being kind. Charles appeared, seeming to like this act. "Linda was kind enough to make soup for me, why be harsh?" His face was cold. I was about to leave when he grabbed my arm. "Apologize." I looked up at him in disbelief. I was silent for a second, and he tightened his grip. Just as I was about to break free, Linda suddenly burned her hand and screamed. Charles immediately ran over. In that instant, I saw the Charles from our early marriage. I couldn't cook, and when I tried, he followed me closely, afraid I'd hurt myself. Then he hugged me from behind. "I'm afraid of you getting hurt, I'll cook from now on." His words echoed in my mind. Chapter 3. Afraid I might do something drastic, I left the villa that night. On the 5th day of staying at my apartment, my mother called. When I arrived at the hospital, my father was lying in bed with tubes attached. My mother, in tears, told me the business was doing fine until last week when Mr. Smith, our biggest client, stopped orders and threatened never to cooperate again. I thought Charles would know about it. His phone was unreachable. It wasn't until your father ended up like this that I dared to tell you. I held her hand, reassuring her. Calling Charles, his secretary answered. "Madame, Mr. Gu is on a business trip. I'll contact you once he returns." Charles wasn't on a trip, he was avoiding me. At his company, the receptionist wouldn't let me up. I had been there before, and her attitude was different then. On the 3rd day, I cornered Charles in the underground parking lot. "We need to talk." Dark circles under my eyes, my father had woken up, but the company was declining rapidly. I couldn't let my father's hard work go to waste. That Mr. Smith had a son, the same son Charles had beaten for harassing Linda. Unable to touch the Gu family, they targeted me instead. I hoped Charles would intervene, but he spread the word that he wouldn't. I had no choice but to beg him. "Charles, I want to talk." This was my last bit of pride. "Get in the car." He acted high and mighty. Inside the car, he raised the partition. Suddenly, he leaned in, his hand on my waist. I stiffened. "What?" feeling humiliated. The driver and assistant were in the front. It was a stretch limo, spacious. He pushed me to the floor. "Linda served me here. If you can do the same, I'll consider helping your family." I laughed coldly. "Charles, if you hadn't stood up for Linda, my family wouldn't need any help." His eyes, filled with disdain and resentment, looked at me coldly. It was the first time I felt such direct pain. I didn't know how I got up. I sat in a corner by the window, eyes closed. "Nina, you've always been like this. A spoiled heiress, looking down on everyone. Linda takes care of me, pleases me, fulfills my every need. And you? You just flaunt your pride. I, the spoiled heiress, lost what I loved most for you, stayed home devotedly. 4 years, and this is what I get. Yes, because that's all I have left." As the car headed to the suburbs, he opened the door and threw me out. On a deserted road, not a car in sight. Chapter 4. Returning home past 9, I didn't turn on the lights, quietly sitting by the entryway. A message from Zoe. "I've set up a meeting with him. He's expecting you." If Charles wouldn't help, I had to approach the offended Mr. Smith. Back at the bar. Entering the private room, smoke filled the air, making me nauseous. Tonight was a trap. Seated, Mr. Smith poured 10 shots of strong liquor. I heard you're straightforward. Drink these, and I'll consider continuing business with your family. Without hesitation, I downed the shots one after another. By the third, my stomach burned. I felt awful. Mr. Smith. It was Charles entering the room. In a suit looking polished, I cursed him silently. But I didn't stop, reaching the 6th shot. My legs wobbled. He caught me, pressing me to his chest, protective. I'll drink the rest. Seated, Mr. Smith's expression shifted. Known for his gambling, he used a 5% profit from future deals to tempt Charles into choosing between me and Linda. Profit or loyalty? I lowered my head. I didn't know who he'd choose. But he couldn't stand my ruined reputation. As expected, he chose me. Carrying me out, we encountered Linda. Go find Mr. Smith tonight. He won't trouble you. The bar's top floors served these elites. Dizzy, I lay on a soft bed. He pinned me down. Gripping my jaw, he whispered. Only I can make you bow. Ridiculous possessiveness. He didn't love me but wanted me submissive. His breath warm on my ear, I shuddered, which pleased him. He tried to unbutton my shirt. I kneed his stomach, making him release me. I got up, still dizzy but able to walk. He was quicker, pinning me against the door. Trade places with Linda? Do you know who Mr. Smith is? Better than you. I gritted my teeth. Say it again. His grip tightened. Say it again. I thought you were virtuous, but you're just a. He wanted to curse me. Those vile words stuck in his throat. Then he laughed. Nina, you're shameless. For this, you'd stoop so low. Ah! I felt sick. Pushing him away, I rushed to the bathroom. Blood filled the sink. My vision blurred. Chapter 5. When I woke in the hospital, my mother was by my side. Nina, you're awake. Her eyes were red. I didn't know what happened. Trying to speak, my throat was dry and sore. I was expecting a baby. My mother's words felt surreal. Charles and I hadn't been intimate in a while. I felt repulsed. Yes, repulsed. Closing my eyes, tears slid down my face. I had always hidden it, but deep down, I knew I cared about his affairs. I just couldn't admit I had chosen wrong. I couldn't deny he had loved me once, but I had to face the truth. Charles didn't love me anymore. He loved Linda. That expression, flaunting it so openly, was just like back then. Linda was different from those fleeting women. Mom, Charles cheated. I want a divorce. She was about to call Charles. These words had weighed on my heart for too long, suffocating me. But at this moment, they were a release. Nina, I won't oppose the divorce, but the family. The Gu family needed the Gu enterprise, which was part of why I had endured so long. About to speak, I heard a noise outside. My mother went to check, finding the hallway empty. I didn't think much of it. Once I recovered, Charles and I arranged a meeting. On our anniversary, at the apartment where he had proposed. Arriving, the place was decorated just like back then. Memories of that joyful moment were vivid. But the backdrop had changed from my name to Linda's. Standing at the door, I saw inside. Charles, on one knee, proposing with a ring. Then they embraced, growing more intimate. Though it wasn't fall yet, I felt the chill of winter. Miss Nina, thank you for witnessing our love today. Linda, like a victor, pulled me in. Then handed me a viola. I trembled, looking at the instrument. It was a gift from Charles 5 years ago, bought at a German auction. For the first time in a long while, I felt uncontrollable sorrow. Charles's expression shifted from calm to agitated. Leave, Nina. You don't have to play today. Charles promised to resolve my family's issue, even offering a 10% profit margin. Only if I played for him. Ignoring him, I walked to the center of the room, where a small stage awaited. Standing there, I placed the viola on my shoulder. My wrist throbbed painfully. Chapter 6. Nina! Get down! His voice shifted from agitated to menacing, ready to strike. But I maintained a perfect smile. The same smile I had at performances. Thank you, Mr. Gu, for this opportunity. Then I played the first note. So awful that Linda covered her ears. Is this too much? Why is Miss Nina doing this? Didn't you say she played beautifully? Viola. Charles corrected her. Shaking off her hand, he approached. My wrist lacked strength, my attempts had failed. I knew I wasn't even a fraction of my former self. Sorry. I whispered. Not to Charles but to myself. Had I known this would happen, I'd have let Charles die in that fire. Tears fell onto the strings. I wasn't sure who I was fighting with, but I tried to play his favorite, the D major viola concerto. After a few seconds, Charles couldn't bear it. Is it that I'm unworthy of your music? He dragged me down. My wrist gave out. The viola crashed to the floor. Like our relationship. His expression turned confused while Linda was terrified. Before she could speak, he glared at her. Get out. Linda left without fuss. Stick to our agreement. I turned to leave. He grabbed my wrist, dragging me to the bedroom, scattered with intimate items. Rage surged, and I slapped him. This was where I had given him my first time after his proposal. Back then, he kissed my tears as I cried from the pain. Gentle and loving, he promised. Nina, I'll never let you cry again. I'll be your rock. Nina, you finally act human. I thought you were a goddess. He tore my dress, pinning me to the carpet. I struggled. His slap was imminent. I closed my eyes, bracing for pain. Instead, he caressed my face, speaking vile words. Do you know how sick you make me? Always so calm and aloof, your arrogance makes me want to strangle you. I got some things from the club. Let's try them on you, okay? His tenderness mirrored his care when I was ill. But it was his cruelest moment. I want to see you forever bow before me. Chapter 7. He grabbed my wrist, pulling out a pill from the drawer. With unprecedented strength, I slapped him, making him fall. Standing, I smashed a vase on his head. He pointed at me. And fell. Dizzy, I fled. Barefoot on the main road, a Hummer stopped behind me. Turning, I saw a man drape a large suit jacket over me. The scent of pine soothed me. In the car, I was still in a daze. Ethan was back. Charles's elder brother Ethan's father was the second son. Their family split had been dramatic, leading Ethan abroad. We had attended the same high school, barely interacting. He had sent a lavish gift for my wedding, a pair of jade ornaments. Nina, you always lectured me. Now you're so miserable. He teased. I stared coldly, unwilling to speak. My feet were bare on the carpet. By hierarchy, he should call me sister-in-law. Charles was a warning. I told you not to marry him. He's insecure, can't stand people like us. You were so proud. If not for your injury, top orchestras would invite you. He wanted you to wither in his grasp. I realized this truth today. He had pretended to well. I hadn't noticed. Your family's issue. My mother's call interrupted. Mom? Is it about the factory? She usually didn't call at this hour. Good news. It's resolved. A weight lifted. After the call, I asked Ethan. What were you saying? I didn't catch it. Nothing. Ethan sped up, dropping me home. Then opened the opposite door. Miss Nina, I live next door now. We're neighbors, so take care. Once things settled, I had a lawyer draft a divorce agreement. Divorce was my top priority. Chapter 8. I knew Charles wouldn't agree easily. When my father was discharged, Charles brought gifts, his forehead bandaged, and knelt before us. Instinctively, I stepped back, shocked. Charles was prideful yet insecure about his origins. I had heard bits from his confidant. His mother was a hostess who had him unintentionally. Before dying, she entrusted him to the Gu family. Such a scandal was a lifelong shadow. I had tried to shield him. But his extreme display chilled me. The man I loved should have dignity. Get up. I pulled at his arm. He was hysterical. I won't get up unless you forgive me. Witnessed by many. He had given interviews, and this renowned private hospital knew its wealthy patrons. Feeling uncomfortable, I tried pulling him up, but he leaned in, speaking softly. Humiliated? Nina, this is just the start. You want a divorce? I'll ruin your family. He sought revenge. Charles, this self-destructive path, is it worth it? After accompanying my parents home, I laid everything out for them. I'm expecting a baby, but I plan to terminate it and divorce Charles. I can't endure this marriage any longer. Our business relies heavily on the Gu family, I know, but I've endured enough. No need. My father spoke up. Nina, the Gu family doesn't need to sell its daughter. When you got together, I told you not to marry for the family's sake. You said you loved him. Who knew it would come to this? My mother's eyes reddened. It's all right. That was all I could say. Returning to my apartment, Ethan was waiting at the door with a food container, the aroma wafting out. Join me for dinner. I have news to share. I didn't refuse. Once inside, he made himself at home, laying out dishes I loved. Where did you find such a good chef? I picked up a meatball. I made it. He opened a file, speaking casually. I suddenly lost my appetite. A mix of emotions welled up. Ethan liked me, which wasn't surprising. I had known for a while. But back then, I didn't understand what liking was. Later, I fell for Charles. Unaware of my change, he handed me some documents. Linda's details. Reading through, I was stunned. She's from the club? Not just that. Ethan's eyes gleamed with confidence. Linda was my first step to breaking Charles's defenses. He wanted me to suffer, but I wouldn't sit idle. Chapter 9. I went to Linda's workplace. In a suit and stockings, her well-trained figure was alluring, even to me. We squeezed into a cramped room. She lit a cigarette, the smoke escaping through a small basement window. Her large, round eyes were moist. At 20, with a brother needing a heart transplant, a gambling mother, and a father in prison, your life's a mess. I saw your college grades. Impressive. You dropped out to join the club, signing a contract. Linda stubbed out her cigarette, glaring fiercely. Here to mock me, spoiled heiress? You're not very good at it. She tried to leave. I want a divorce, you want money. She scoffed, looking back. Charles likes me. He's addicted. If I want money, he'll give it. I laughed coldly. Linda, you know he keeps mistresses. But offending the big boss for you isn't worth it. He'll weigh his options. Money is easy, your contract isn't. Tomorrow at 10, I'll contact you. Bring something useful. We met at the Gu building's basement cafe. She was an hour late. Whether she came or not, I wouldn't be surprised. This woman had Charles hooked, she had her methods. On the way, my father called, redirecting me to the family factory. Our business in medical technology was the core of the Gu family's success, but it also attracted unwanted attention. Like a child guarding a golden bowl, it was hard to protect. At the factory, my father, looking older, stood by the window, watching the workers. Dad. I approached. He spoke earnestly. Tomorrow, I'll call a shareholders meeting. Next week you'll take over. Nina, I'm entrusting this to you. All right? But the company couldn't wait. After the meeting, I quickly assumed my father's role as CEO of Yunchuang Technology. Financial reports covered my mysterious rise, emphasizing our partnership with Jingshan Group on new projects. Ethan, disinterested in Gu's past, aimed for innovation, signing a decade-long deal with Yunchuang. I trusted his business acumen, he wouldn't break a profitable agreement. One evening, reviewing documents, loud banging came from the door. Charles, drunk, was ranting. About to call the police, I heard the keypad beeping. My scalp tingled. Chapter 10. Genuinely drunk or not, he keyed in the code faster than I could lock it. I watched him enter. At nearly 6 feet tall, his presence made me instinctively step back. Fear gripped me. Nina, you're ruthless, selling yourself to Ethan? His voice was loud enough for Ethan to hear next door, but he was away on a business trip. Get out! I shouted. With a loud bang, he closed the door, trapping me. As he reached into his pocket, I ran to the corner, grabbing a baseball bat. But he knelt, pulling out a ring. A plain band, tarnished and dull. This is my mother's last gift. She was beautiful. No need to say, I could guess. Compared to Ethan's rebellious look, Charles's refined features were striking. I lowered my gaze. From quiet confessions to loud sobs. I had never seen him like this, his chest heaving with emotion. It reminded me how much I despised him. The love I once felt was now filled with hatred. Leave. I gripped the bat, ready to strike. He suddenly looked up, startling me. But he stood, holding the bat's end, staring. Nina, was I not good to you? Why divorce me for Ethan? Why do this to me? His desperate tone made it seem like I was the unfaithful one. The one who cheated. The one who was shameless. I laughed, unable to speak. Charles, you're despicable. The doorbell rang. I was about to respond when Charles checked the monitor. It was Ethan, back early. A loud noise came from the room. Ethan heard it and knocked harder. Nina, are you there? Open the door. Charles covered my mouth. His forehead was bleeding. I kicked him, but he overpowered me, pinning me against the wall. His voice, low and tender. Nina, I was wrong. Divorce isn't an option. I can handle the women outside, but Ethan has to go. His last words were the truth. The two were sworn enemies for years. Caught between, the door opened. Ethan saw us. Chapter 11. Ethan punched Charles. Watching them fight, I yelled. Stop. Separated, both were bruised. Ethan, looking aggrieved, turned to me. Get some medicine. Charles stood at the door. Ignoring him, I grabbed the first aid kit. Ethan spoke suddenly. The fire back then, self-inflicted, cost Nina her hand. Like a bombshell, it hit me. My wrist throbbed. What? My voice cracked. Ethan hesitated, uncomfortable. I wanted to tell you later, but feared Charles would deceive you. Charles was equally shocked. Nina, you were there. From disbelief to joy, then regret. Nina, you were there. Why didn't you tell me? He repeated, hysterical. I faced away. Ethan blocked his view. The fire was staged to soften Nina for marriage. No one told you she was there, her wrist severely injured. She hid it to protect your pride. You thought she didn't know your insecurities? She shielded your ego, and you. Standing before Charles, my heart was calm. Tears fell from his eyes. Nina, let's divorce. I pushed him out. As the door closed, he held the frame, pleading. Nina, I never wanted a divorce. Even if the child isn't mine, I'd raise it as my own. I slammed the door. A second later, his hand would have been crushed. What child? Irritated, Ethan asked. I'm expecting a baby. It was from when Charles took me to a dinner last month. I had forgotten. It hadn't crossed my mind. I had already scheduled a termination. After this, Ethan and I resumed our business partnership, avoiding personal matters. Charles didn't contact me again. His lawyer's stance remained no divorce unless through court. A lawsuit would tarnish Yunchuang's reputation. Though I wasn't at fault, I didn't want to become gossip fodder. This time, Linda approached me, dressed maturely, exuding a hint of world weariness. "Miss Nina, is your offer still valid?" She seemed desperate. I was in no hurry. "Of course, but conditions must be fair." "What do you want?" "To leave that wretched place. Not much money, I have some, but I want my contract." Leaning in eager, she handed me a recorder. "These are Charles's dealings with the Smith family over the past year. He's a madman. He knew my background. Initially, She cried. "I thought people from such places had lost all humanity." "You love him." I was certain. Linda froze, then admitted. "I love him." A mistress professing love, who'd believe? But I did. Before parting, Linda said, "The club's just a front. It's called Golden City, with an entrance at a cafe in the west. Charles isn't just a client, he's a major investor." I stood there stunned. Chapter 12. Through Ethan's connections, I confirmed Golden City's existence. A cesspool, evading shutdowns due to powerful backers. Lacking solid evidence. But enough to ruin Charles. Realizing I was onto him, Charles's office looked chaotic when I arrived. Linda, looking shattered, met my eyes briefly. I nodded. Inside, Charles's wrist was bandaged. Seeing me, his joy mirrored our early days. I found it vexing. Ignoring him, I handed over the divorce papers. "Sign this." I came to negotiate. If he resisted, I'd be ruthless. "Nina, we can go back. I won't be insecure. I'll love you. Always." His sincerity was overwhelming. But he had tested my limits too many times. People can't achieve their desires through deceit. I handed him the recorder. His face turned pale. "Nina, you want me ruined?" This recording wouldn't imprison him but would forever taint him. His concealed past would resurface. His emotions teetered on the edge. Pulling out two documents. One is a paternity test. The child is yours. The other is a termination form. Laying them out. He trembled, reading them repeatedly. "Nina, don't do this." Tears flowed freely, a dramatic reaction. I didn't bother replying. He paced, then removed his bandage, reopening his wound. Blood gushed out. Finding it insufficient, he grabbed a knife, cutting deeper. Blood splattered everywhere. "Charles, you're pitiful." I left without looking back. Chapter 13. Days later, Charles stepped down from the Goo Corporation. His background surfaced, a disgrace to his family. I read the reports. His childhood, like a sewer rat, resurfaced. And now, he was still that rat. I received the signed divorce papers a month later. Our final meeting. He was holed up in the villa, hugging my clothes, surrounded by mold. "Nina, you're here." Barely audible. I crouched down. "Sign it." He rose, carefully signing his name. "Nina, I made mistakes." He confessed things I never knew. "I loved you, but feared loving you. You were like the moon, unreachable. As I drew closer, I feared you'd smell my stench. The stench of the gutter." I revealed my past myself. My eyes flickered, but I said nothing. There was nothing left to say. "Charles, you truly are a madman. But I would never forgive you." Chapter 14. Afterward, Charles vanished. The Goo family needed a leader, and Ethan's return was timely. He elevated Yunchuang to new heights. Golden City was dismantled, but such operations continued. Linda sent a thank you message. I didn't reply. Attending a financial summit with Ethan, I wore a green velvet gown. My figure elegantly draped in the soft fabric. Hair up, adorned with top-tier jewelry. My first high-profile appearance. Ethan, feigning intimacy, handed me a glass. "Are you still rejecting my proposal?" His proposal. Ethan wanted to marry me. Partly for affection, partly for Yunchuang's core technology. A true businessman. I subtly pushed him away. Unnoticed, I stepped into the garden. Ethan followed. You've been avoiding me. Am I that unappealing? I shook my head. It's not that. Afraid of being seen as a second wife? No. I stared at the pond, calm and serene. Ethan, I don't love you. Maybe I once felt a spark. But we're alike. We never do anything without benefit. Even love comes with a price. I don't want that. Before Ray entering the hall, I told Ethan. We'll always be friends and partners. Nothing more, Ethan. Don't look back. Those feelings were just past emotions. My future wouldn't be tied to marriage. I was Nina Gu, CEO of Yunchuang.